Autoline After Hours, you guys talk about this quite a bit about BYD and their competition leaving Asia, now going into Europe. How soon do you think that someone like them is going to make a launch into North America?
Well, we're already seeing Chinese vehicles in the U.S. They're just with, familiar legacy
Polestar
brands.
Right.
But as you guys know, I mean, the Chinese, a number of Chinese automakers and suppliers are just flooding into the Mexican market.
Yeah.
And, they're clearly going to use Mexico as their entry into the U.S. market. And they may not have to pay a tariff. There's 27.5% tariff on Chinese-made vehicles coming into the U.S., so that would get rid of that. They may not qualify for IRA money, but their cost levels are such that they probably don't even need it to be able to compete. So NIO has said it will be in the U.S. market by 2025. Look, they're all watching this year's presidential election. If Trump gets in, it's going to be a slow walk of Chinese automakers coming into the U.S. market. But who knows? I mean, there's talk right now of boosting the import tariff on Chinese vehicles to 40%. So even if Biden stays in, there's bipartisan support to keep the Chinese out any way possible. But the U.S. market, even though volume-wise it's smaller than China, it's far more lucrative. You can make a lot more money here than you can in China. And so the Chinese automakers really see no choice. If they want to be truly globally dominant, they've got to be in the American market.
Well, and I think that, go for it, Loren.
I was just going to say, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the Volvo XC30 does. I mean, it's not going to come out till probably middle of the year, or third quarter and stuff. But, I think it's going to be sort of a telling moment if consumers even care. Like,
they won't care, Loren. You can already see it.
Right, because the people that are complaining on social media about Chinese-made products are doing it on this device that's made in China.
Well, let's be very clear and careful about that. Is the brands we're talking about right now, Volvo, Apple, they're not perceived as Chinese brands in America.
No, they're not. Right,
and so NIO, BYD coming to the States, those are fresh brands. And that's going to be something that they do actually have to tackle from an American branding perspective, is if for any reason that perception is different, it's a fresh new brand that no one's ever heard of. Just because Volvo manufactures a car in China or just because Apple manufactures their phones in China, that's not how Americans perceive those products. Yeah. They will then all of a sudden, what's BYD? What's NIO? Oh, it's a Chinese brand of vehicle. And it's a fresh brand, and they're going to have that narrative to actually contend with. I don't think it's going to be that Americans are going to go, I don't see the difference. It's like an Apple iPhone. No, I don't think that is going to be how NIO and BYD
I don't quite agree, Matt. Look at sales of the Buick Envision. It's no secret that that's made in China. It sells just fantastic.
It's an American brand. Again,
Correct.
That's my point. Is Apple was founded here in the United States. Volvo is seen as a Swedish brand by most people that drive Volvos. They are not perceiving it as just simply because it was made in China doesn't mean they understand that. Mach-E is made in Mexico right now. Yeah. And if you ask a Mach-E buyer, they're going to go, what? Is it? It's an American product. It's a Ford. I mean, so this is a brand perception discussion.
But look at the sales success that the Chinese are starting to have in Europe. And I think that's a litmus test for what will happen in the American market.
Europe is not the United States when it comes to
It's not the United States, I know. But, just look at sales of MG in the UK. Yeah. I mean, or Australia. I mean, they're off to the races.
And not America.
I think you're both right, though. If you come into the U.S. market
with a very good-looking car with great technology that is substantially cheaper, Americans are just going to go to it. And if you tell them it's Chinese, I think a lot will.
So we already see Tesla having a problem being an American company with certain segments of the American populace for why they won't buy it. And so that to me, again, it's a brand positioning piece, is those brands like NIO and BYD need to be prepared to contend with that. I mean, that is just a reality.
To me, this sounds like back in the 70s and 80s, will people really buy Japanese cars? And then, or are they really going to buy Korean cars? And, Americans just tend to go to who can give them the best product at the lowest price.
Or if it's positioned as being something that is actually cool. to be perfectly blunt.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I had this exchange this morning on LinkedIn with somebody. They said, well, why do you think that, EVs aren't, why are they sitting at the lot? And I said, there's a variety of factors, but number one is people aren't clamoring in to buy cars that run a new fuel type they don't understand. I'm sticking to it because I think there's a lot of evidence to point to that. But they said, well, then why are Tesla selling like crazy? That means your assertion doesn't make sense. I said, Tesla is cool. They don't actually have a freaking idea what they're buying. They want to have a Tesla. And then they find out after that, oh God, like I have to figure out how to use this dumb thing. And 1 in 5 buyers in California went, I'm done with an EV because I can't figure out how to do this. Americans, by sake of how they consume products, oftentimes are based on FOMO or just this is cool, and they will justify purchases emotionally around those factors. And so NIO, BYD, if they can, from a branding perspective, pull that off, not as a Chinese company, but as a flash and flare, badass new car company, then yes, they will have success. But if there is any element of this is not an American company, in fact, it's from China, and what is China to us? Well, then you get into political ramifications of that. So it's not as simple as just saying, well, like Apple or Volvo, they're going to be fine. I don't think so at all.
I